The choice that faith yields is a belief that you have already received. It keeps you closer to the energy of creation, because where creation resides is where source resides. In today's video, we are diving into ancient truths that were never meant to be hidden at all. You will learn how to align your frequency to intentionally create every experience that you want to have on this plane. Let's start with the first principle, and this is one of those that I like to call a manifestation blueprint. Let's start with the act of asking. Now, I want you to think about it this way. When you have to ask for something, right, it is because you are consciously aware that I don't have this thing and that doesn't feel good to me, right? Or that is hindering me in some way or another, right? And so what it actually means is that I realize that I am in a place of lack. So the key thing to be very mindful of here, to ask, is to recognize. Okay? First you recognize and then you acknowledge. Think of this also. We know that it is written, right? That in the beginning was the Word, right? And initially, at least from what we can gauge by context, is that there was no light, right? Because God then said, let there be light. This would lead us to think and believe that, okay, he recognized that there was no light. But you don't read anywhere where it says he lamented. So this tells us then that once you recognize that you are in lack of something that you want, recognize it, right? And then pivot. Now, as the story goes, he said, let there be light, right? Now, pause and think about this. By the time you speak something out, so in other words, when you take physical action, you've already gone through it mentally. You've already thought about this thing, right? Remember that feelings follow thoughts. So you've already thought about it. You've already had some feelings about it, because that is what then propels you to take physical action. So the physical act of speaking is in essence an act of creation. Which is why when he said, let there be light, there was, right? So to ask is to recognize the absence. And so in essence, it's recognizing that, okay, as it pertains to this subject, to this particular car, to this particular home, to this particular job, I am in a place of lack. But once I recognize this, right, then I've got to immediately pivot. This leads me to belief. Now, when we enter into the space of belief, this is essentially this simple. I am either going to choose, because belief is an act, and it's an act of choice. So I'm either going to choose to lean over on the side of faith or on the side of fear, right? Either way, I have a choice. Faith, of course, being a positive energy just means that it's a high vibrational choice, whereas fear, being a negative energy, means it's a low vibrational choice. This is also what dictates my outcome. The most important thing here is what? What place am I working from? Because the truth is that there is no separation, meaning I have access to both of them. So it's a conscientious choice that you have to take, that, okay, this is the thing I want, and so I'm going to move in this direction or in that. Now, let's look at what these individual choices actually mean for you. What do they mean in a tangible way on this tangible place? The choice that faith yields is a belief that you have already received. So because faith is a higher vibrational energy, right? It's a more positive emotion. It is actually measured at 475, okay, on the map of consciousness, okay? The thing is that it keeps you closer to the energy of creation, because where creation resides is where source resides. So simply put, to align yourself with faith is to align yourself with the energy of source. And when you are aligned with the creator of all things, how can you not create the things that you desire? Aligning with the energy of faith is simply pulling your desires from the unseen realms into your physical reality. Because as you meditate on already having gotten the job, on that car already being parked in your garage, you are quite literally causing these molecules to collapse into your reality. They have to manifest, which leads us to the last key point, which is to receive. Okay, now simply put, getting into the receiving mode means I am getting out of my masculine energy. It means I've already done the work. I've already done the spiritual work. I've already done the energetic work, right? That energy, that masculine work, it's done. And so getting into receiving mode means I'm getting into my feminine energy, which means detachment. Now I get to relax. Now I get to be at ease. I get to watch how the universe now speaks to me through synchronicities, letting me know that it's already done, confirming that it's already done, and that it's going to come into my life in the most effortless and easiest way possible. This is being in the state of allowing. Now, the only caveat here is you don't know how it's going to come into your life. But while you can't decide how it comes in, you can direct it. So the idea around receiving, in essence, is to literally revel in peace and gratitude and just watch things magnetize themselves to you. The next key point here, why would I say this? You've got to understand something here. If I'm going to love anybody outside of myself, it means I actually have to have the ability and capacity to love somebody. The best person who's going to love you well is yourself. So at the point where I'm going to love another, it's because I am so full of self-love that I am overflowing with love. Meaning, the love that you give to another is because you have already poured your own love to yourself. Your love is meant to be self-directed. Now you get to work from a place of overflow, from abundance. You will naturally share that, okay? So your love towards others is not meant to necessarily be directed in that way. No, your love is meant to be directed towards you, because the energy of love is nourishing. Where there is love, things are fertile, okay? Where there is love, there is growth. When you love your plants, you take care of them like nothing else. When you love your pets, you take care of them like nothing else, okay? Where a marriage is rooted in deep and genuine love, it will produce amazing things. It will break generational curses. So the energy of love nurtures and it allows things to grow. That's why you want to take your love and allow yourself to be the first and main recipient of it. Secondly, because by now we understand that what you are is what you experience, right? That means the energy that you put out to others must come back to you. In the same way that the energy you put out for your manifestations, right, it comes back to you in the form of the physical manifestation. That energy of love that you put out towards others must also find its way back to you, right? So what you do to another is already done to you. Now this goes both ways, right? I'm sure you've heard the phrase before, hurt people, right? When people are in a place of deep hurt that usually they are not even willing to think about, to comprehend, to feel, to release, then they end up hurting other people, right? Because they have to project that negativity outward some way, right? But in the same way, the energy that I put out comes back to me, right? So when you hurt others, you are already hurting yourself. So in simple terms, the energy that you put out always ripples back to you, whether positive or negative. So to love others as you love yourself is to put out good energy that will inevitably come back to you. So I want you to understand that this is literally for your benefit. It is for your benefit over and above anything else. Let's move on to our next point. Now, what does this truly mean? When you understand that Source has already told us, right, that he is spirit, right, and that we are made in his image, that means we are also spirit, right? We just happen to carry physical vessels because we are on a physical plane, right? But at your core, you are spirit. So your consciousness, okay, your spirit is where God resides. That is your God essence. This is why we say you are the God of your reality. And so you kind of want to think of it this way. If you are the God of your reality, that means that your consciousness, the place about you, in you, that creates, is kind of like a library, okay? A library with many options that you probably can't even count, okay? Now, the book that you pick is the life that you experience, okay? The book that you choose to read from is the story that you experience. Meaning, if that book is themed around, the experience of love and peace and abundance and joy, remember, because you pick it, you are the main character, right? And as such, you must experience exactly that, right? Adversely, if the book's themes are around stress and anxiety and fear and depression and victimhood, you must experience exactly that. Why? Because as the main character, you chose the book. Therefore, you are participating in that story. On to the next key point. For an example, okay? You're in a relationship, you are happy and everything, right? Out of nowhere, you find out that your partner has been unfaithful, okay? Your world shatters, okay? You leave the relationship, and so now you are left with this trauma, right? This traumatic experience. This is the thing. When you are in this place, you have one of two choices. You are either going to see the line of separation, meaning what somebody else does is because of them, is for them, okay? Reasons will be rooted within that person. Whereas there's you over here. You can, on the opposite end, take on everything they did, okay? And use it to go, I'm not enough. What's wrong with me, right? But that now creates a deep wound within you. When you choose to instead forgive them, you release all of that, right? Which means you disassociate in some ways, if you will. It means you give back the energy to who created it. That means instead of taking it on, you go, okay, is it possible that this person did this because they were not very disciplined in that way? Possibly. So the reason that we forgive people, the reason that you've heard all your life that forgiveness is about you, not the other person, is because it quite literally disengages you emotionally and mentally from that person and that negative experience. Because I want to challenge you today to start thinking about forgiveness from a different perspective. Forgiveness is how we protect ourselves, is how we disengage from situations and sometimes even people that may be harmful to us. It's an act of self-preservation. Let's look at the last point. I'm sure this is another one that you've heard a few times, to say the least. Now, I want you to think of it this way. The kingdom of God, right? His kingdom is where he rules, is where he resides, right? We know also through Christ's teachings that God is love, right? God is spirit, but God is love. Like I said earlier, there's growth, there's expansion, there's fertility. The things that we love, the people whom we love, we nurture. Those relationships grow. Yeah? That career that you love, that you do from a place of love, it grows. Meaning Seek the kingdom first. Seek a higher level of consciousness. That's what that means. To seek the kingdom is to seek a higher state of consciousness, such as love. Okay? Because when you do, remember, what our mind focuses on, our emotions follow. This means this is what I become. Because when the mind and the emotions are aligned, you will also get a physiological reaction. All of this feels really good in your body. And so even the actions that you take are aligned to positive things. You see? So to seek the kingdom first will literally bring you everything else. Because again, if you are residing in the energy of love, you are magnetizing positive things. This I'm telling you because I've done. I've read many books about it, but I've done it. And I've seen my life transform. This is all that we're going to cover today. But if anything, I hope that I have reminded you. You are not meant to be disconnected or keep waiting for life to happen for you. At this point, it's just a matter of remembering and aligning. If you need any further support, you can click the links below and I will see you soon.